game is going crazy, right? I've turned 5K into 980. This should be fucking 100 to 1. I go get every dollar you can raise. I put $1 million on Floyd. What if it's fixed and you can't handle that hit? I'm like, it's not gonna happen. I have some Bitcoin, don't touch it. If you look at the returns over time, pretty much only going up. Don't panic and ride the wave.
We say the exact same thing about gold.
Yeah, I have some gold too, you know?
He's won over $10 million playing poker professionally, including a World Series of Poker bracelet. He has a World Poker title, runner-up at the World Series of Poker main event, and for many, it's the face of poker when it became popular on TV sports channels. Match that with a runner-up finish on Gordon Ramsay's hit show MasterChef, hosting black poker superstars with the likes of Cat Williams and Kevin Hart, and commentating for ESPN's World Series of Poker coverage. All of that, and he's your girlfriend's favorite poker player. David, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. So here we are, Vegas, Bellagio fountains in the background.
Yeah.
You live here now, but you grew up in Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, Arlington, effectively Fort Worth.
Okay.
You know, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, Metroplex, 3 cities. I was in Arlington, Fort Worth area, but you know, I say Dallas now just because it's easier, and I was there as an adult.
Yeah, I get it. What was it like growing up there? Tell me about your childhood a little bit.
Grew up with just my mom. Never knew my dad. He left my mom when she said she was pregnant. He was like, "No kids for me. I'm out."
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, you didn't have that." But for me, I kind of had 3 parents. My mom's parents, her father and mother, my grandparents, they moved when she was pregnant from Louisiana, real close to my mom. Ended up living down the street for most of my childhood. Whenever my mom was flying, because she was a flight attendant, I would stay with my grandpa and grandma. So in a way, I had 3 parents. They were all very loving, very supportive. I do have a half-sister who was 8 years younger than I now. She lives in Minneapolis now. She's a flight attendant too, just like my mom. But other than that, yeah, it was a pretty small family. I mean, I was blessed that my mom is one of 5. All my aunts and uncles do live in the Metroplex also, so I had a lot of cousins growing up. But just me, my mom, and my sister for most of it. Pretty good childhood. I mean, you know, we weren't very well off or anything like that by any means, but my mom always made sure that we didn't really need anything, didn't have any wants. I mean, I was kind of a spoiled kid. And I think, you know, one of the reasons as we get to me getting into gambling, probably has something to do with my mom was always a gambler growing up. And speaking of Vegas, even though I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, Arlington, Texas, I actually tell people a lot, I was kind of raised at the Circus. It's like a joke.
Oh, is it?
Because as a kid, I remember many vacations my mom would come to Vegas in the 80s to gamble, play blackjack and slots, and she would bring me, her, my grandfather, and my grandmother, because my grandfather also loved gambling. And we would come out here, go to the Circus. I would get dropped off with like $20 at the Midway, you know, to play the games where you throw the baseball to knock down the little milk jugs while they gambled. And it's a different time now. You can't just leave your 8-year-old with $5 to run around the circus. You know, you either lose your kids to the criminals or the police. But back then it was fine. And I remember, you know, I'd go find mom at the blackjack table, casino, didn't really say much. Go to a slot machine, stick a few bucks in, pull down the one-armed bandit as a kid. So gambling's kind of been in my nature as a kid. So even though I grew up in Fort Worth in Texas, I always say I kind of was raised at Circus. It's like a joke I have.
We don't know each other super well. We'll get to this later on. We met, I don't know, I think it was 2016, something like that.
Yeah, it was, I believe it was 2014.
Was it 2014? Okay, 2014. We met at a charity event and kind of became fast friends there. I've seen you a couple times in Vegas, but we don't talk all that often. One of the things I really like about you, and I've never said this to you, almost every time we talk, you talk about your mom. I don't know if you know that, but I always think that's super cool. I was super, super close to my mom, who was also a flight attendant as well, funnily enough.
Yeah, that's
which
wild.
is where she met my dad. My dad was a chief steward on planes, so different thing. When did you move here? When did you come to Vegas?
I had left Princeton, and I had started back at SMU. I was playing online poker, playing in underground card rooms in Dallas, loving poker. Didn't really see a need to be out here at the time because I was a cash game player. And I was playing primarily just, like I said, underground games for cash, never really tournaments. But in 2003, the year everybody kind of knows is the poker boom, was when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series all over ESPN. I had been playing for probably 4 years in the card rooms in Dallas. And I remember talking to my friend, we don't play tournaments much, but that looks pretty damn cool. Maybe we should give it a shot. And we started playing tournaments more online, qualified for the World Series of Poker main event the following year on an online poker site in the satellite. Now, a lot of people act like, oh, he owes it all to that. I was going to play it anyway, and I had the bankroll to spend the $10,000 at the time to buy myself in. But, being responsible, I wanted to, see if I could win a satellite, it meant I knew a little bit more what I was doing than if I just ponied up 10,000. So I won a satellite, played the main event World Series in 2004. As you know, got second place. Life changed, but I was still living in Dallas afterwards. I went back, I had a girlfriend at the time, and I remember we would be home, but I was flying back out to Vegas so much to play more tournaments. I had got a sponsorship with Bodog, and they wanted me playing more events. Then I realized, why am I here in Dallas? At the time, like now they have card rooms and they have like the casinos in Oklahoma. There's a bigger poker scene in Dallas now, but back then there was just a few underground clubs. So if I wanted to do anything in poker, I pretty much had to be here or Los Angeles. So I was like, one day, you know what? I'm moving to Vegas in 2004. So at the end of 2004, beginning of 2005, almost 20 years ago, I moved out here and I've been thriving ever since.
Yeah, man. Best and worst parts of Vegas for you? Because you've been here a while now. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people fly in and fly out. It's kind of this party city. Like, what is it for you that, obviously, partly it's food scene that keeps you here, but what's your best and worst parts of Vegas?
Well, I'd say the best part of Vegas is that it has the best of all worlds. And what I mean by that is we have such a great food scene, right? You have the Strip if you want to go to nightclubs, if you want to go gambling. Now we have sports teams if you want to go watch, and we're only getting more. If you want to go watch football, it's great. The Golden Knights, our WNBA team, which WNBA is blowing up. So a lot of people are like, how do you live? How do you live in Vegas? It's so crazy. But we also have such a great community, city, or a non-city suburban area, right? Like I live in Summerlin, which is that to the west, right? To the west and I guess northwest. Schools are great out there. Private schools, expensive, but it's good schools, great golf courses, better weather. It's a little cooler. We've got Henderson this way. There's so many areas that Vegas is more than just a strip. And I think people only think of that because that's what they see when they come visit. And they're like, how could you live out here? And it's like, yeah, I lived in a high-rise condo right off the strip when I was in my 20s, before I was a dad. And it was crazy and it was great. Don't think I could do it now in my 40s with a daughter, but there's way more to Vegas. So people are like, how do you live out here? I'm like, well, what do you like about your city? And they're like, they live in just generic city. I'm like, I have that too. I have that out where I live in Summerlin. It's calm, it's peaceful. Our stores close early, it's very quiet. I go, but if I want to get busy, I can go down to the Strip. So I have the option. So I think that's the best part of Vegas is that it has a little bit of everything. Worst parts, I would probably say also, I think, is the gambling. As much as I make my living off gambling, the type of gambling I make my living off of is poker, right? We're not playing against the house. You're playing against other poker players. Now, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, you have the opponents, they lose, and they could be losing their rent money, and I can't control that. That sucks. I truly, genuinely feel bad. I prefer to play against people that are playing within their means. Mostly high stakes I play, and it's like businessmen who if this guy loses a chunk of money, looks like he can kind of afford it based on his job, his career. So that kind of gambling, I'm not really against. Obviously, it's how I pay my living. But slots, blackjack, craps, it's fun for some, but I've seen it destroy so many people, and so many people who are friends of mine who are locals who came here, who have regular non-gambling jobs, but lose so much of their money playing slots or just at blackjack. And it's just so in your face. It's really hard to escape. So I say it's hard for people to live here who don't have a lot of self-control. So seeing what gambling can do to certain people, which, you can kind of say that's their own fault. They should be more responsible, but I also feel kind of bad. So having it be so thrust into people's faces, kids, as they grow up, as soon as they turn 21, could hit the casino. I wish there was more education about the types of gambling and the dangers of it, but.
So funny. I can go on big swings with stocks where I'll lose, mid six figures, all that type of thing. And it'll bother me, but it won't bother me that much. If I go down to the casino and lose $5,000 or something, man, it'll keep me up at night.
Oh, it drives me nuts. I don't usually do it, but let's say I have friends in town and they're like, hey, let's go play some craps. We're drinking. I'll go with the boys. And it's not like I'm ever going to lose an amount that'll hurt me. I have a budget. Okay, if I'm going out with the boys, I'll put X aside. In my head, it's lost. But still, when it goes badly and it's gone, and I'm driving home the next day, I'm like, God damn it!
Yeah.
I just hate that. Like, we could have took that money and done so many more fun things.
Oh yeah.
But the moments when we win are, we're all high fiving. So it has its ups and downs. And again, as long as you gamble responsibly, and it's entertainment. I'm not trying to like hit a score playing craps or blackjack. It is what it is. But I do. It still beats me up. I don't like to lose at anything.
No, fair. I know you're a fight fan. Best boxing or UFC event that you've seen while you've been here?
So I got to say, this is an easy one only because of everything about it. The Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor boxing match.
Yeah.
I was friends with Floyd when I moved here.
Yeah.
Before, he was in 2005, 4. He was up and coming. I wasn't up and coming. He was still dominating, but he wasn't the force he became.
He was Pretty Boy Floyd at that point before he was Money Mayweather.
It was the train was rolling, but it hadn't really just started steamrolling. And I met Floyd just being young, black, and successful in Vegas. You kind of get to know others in a similar area, and I met Floyd out and about, and we became kind of friendly. I would say friends, because to the point where we'd be at the club and have tables next to each other. He'd come chop it up with me. We had each other's phone numbers. I don't really stay in contact now, but if he sees me out, he's like, "Oh, what's up, Dave?" And we'll high five and a little bro hug. But so I'd been friends with Floyd, and I know Floyd, and I loved UFC at the time. I don't watch a lot now. I was going, and when that Conor Floyd fight was put together, I'm like, this is a joke, right? Like, Conor is an excellent at UFC, but he is not a boxer.
Yeah.
The cardio that you have to do to box 10 to 12 rounds like Floyd does, the technique, the speed, the defense of Floyd, I was like, this is not a real thing. But when the odds came out and they got down to, because so many people thought Conor had a chance, whether they thought he had a chance or they thought it was fixed, the odds got down to be where Floyd was about 4.5 to 1, right? You could bet Floyd at minus 450.
Yeah.
And I said, this is an opportunity to make generational wealth, really, if you could get down enough. And I remember telling every person I know, take every dollar you have, be irresponsible. I'm being serious. I told my friend Eric Ephra, I'm like, get a second mortgage on your home. I go get every dollar you can raise and go get your ass down to a casino or find someone to take your bet. Put every dollar on Floyd Mayweather you can put, because there is no chance. They're like, what if it's fixed? I go, I know Floyd's ego, Floyd's legacy. Floyd was like 49-0. I go, Floyd is not going to go to 49-1 losing to a UFC fighter. Whether it's an exhibition or not, it is not going to happen. I was like, put every dollar you can put on Floyd Mayweather. And I actually made the largest sports bet by a large amount. I put $1 million on Floyd to win 250, 225 to be precise. And I remember scrounging up every liquid dollar I could get to get that money down. Betting on online Bitcoin sites. I bet everywhere I could bet. Like, I literally, any dollar I could find liquid, I put on Floyd Mayweather. And at that point, before that, my biggest sports bet had been $5,000. And even after, my biggest sports bet since then has been like $20K on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because I've done better in life and I could handle that. So I put $1 million on a boxing match. So I put $1 million on it, and I wanted to go to the fight, but buying tickets to that fight still felt like a spew, right? Like, I can bet on that fight because that felt like a free money opportunity, an investment. Spending $10,000 to go watch it, luckily, I have a good friend who's a defense contractor from Texas, Robert Sanchez. Wealthy guy, plays golf, lives in Austin, dabbles in poker. We were talking, and I was like, I put $1 million on Floyd. And he got so mad at me. He's like, that's so irresponsible. You don't have that kind of money. He's like, I'm worth, billions, and I didn't put that kind of money on. What are you doing? He's like a father figure looking out for me. He meant good. He meant well, obviously. He's just like, what are you doing? What if he loses? What if it's fixed and you can't handle that hit? I'm like, it's not going to happen. He's like, well, now, he's like, I was going to the fight and I was taking so-and-so, but your ass is coming with me.
Nice.
So he had 2 third-row seats.
Oh, man.
Which that was a hot ticket. Those tickets, third row, 6-figure tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And he took me and him. I remember I wore a suit jacket. I was ready to go. And if you remember that fight, it kind of started off, it looked a little like scary. It looked dicey. It looked dicey if you weren't a Floyd watcher.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember after each first few rounds, he looked over, you okay, you okay? And I was like, I'm fine, man. I'm like, bro, this is how Floyd fights. Dodge, he is wearing him out. I go, Conor is like a jackrabbit right now. But I go, come 5, 6, 7, look at these later rounds, it's over. Yeah. He's like, no. I'm like, Floyd is fine. Trust me. And I was cool as a cucumber. And sure enough, He wore him down, and all of a sudden Conor looked really bad. Like he was gassed, could barely stand up, and Floyd was just kind of toying with them. And I think Floyd had a bet to win in the ninth, maybe I think it was, and Floyd won in the ninth, and won that bet too. I think Floyd strung him along to the round he bet on, which is kind of funny. And I remember when he won, I was expecting it to feel like winning the lotto, like confetti in my. And I remember when it was over, I'm just kind of standing there. I'm like, that's it.
Anticlimactic.
It was very anticlimactic.
Oh,
I just won $250,000, but more than that, I risk $1 million, and it's like a $1.25 million swing. And I remember I had plans to go to the club, and I was single then. I was gonna have a bunch of girls out, and it was gonna be a rager. And I remember afterwards, Robert's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to Bellagio, Aria High Limit, have a drink. I'm like, I'm gonna go to my room, get out of these clothes. I'll meet you there. We'll get a table. We'll go out. Went back to my room, and I was like sitting there, and I was like, I'm kind of tired. And I just laid down, and I fell asleep, and I went to bed. And I woke up the next day. I had my tickets, a few tickets. Most was online, Bitcoin bookies. The money was in my account. I looked down. I'm like,
yeah, but you woke up $250,000 richer. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, it felt good, but it also, like I said, didn't have that. And that another thing that made me realize, you know what? That kind of gambling, like not poker where you're trying to like compete for the competition, but just gambling, feeling nothing, winning $250,000. When I looked at how unsatisfied I felt winning $250,000 versus how upset I feel losing $5,000, for those to be like opposites in both ways, that man, there's no upside in gambling like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not. I mean, I would do it again with the Floyd bet because, again, when you see a quarter on the sidewalk, you got to pick it up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen an opportunity like that, and don't know if we ever will again.
No, I can't. Like, I can't see it. I loved the UFC back then. I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to. I couldn't see it any different than like if Floyd wanted to get in the cage, you'd bet the house on Conor. Like, I mean, it's two different sports. I just didn't like.
That's what I always said. I was like, it's two guys who it's an amateur against likely the best to ever do it, at least in his weight class. Yeah. Versus an amateur.
Yeah.
Like,
what are we doing here?
Conor McGregor boxed the hell out of me, but I'm not another. But he is not a boxer. He's an amateur boxer against the GOAT. I'm like, what are we talking about here, guys? Like, how is this 4.5 to 1? This should be fucking 100 to 1. Like what is going on?
My next question, funnily enough, is you meet a ton of celebrities, and have you had any like bad encounters? Before I ask you that, I gotta ask you this because Floyd's a bit of an anomaly to me. Is he Money Mayweather when you're just talking to him, or is that mostly persona?
He again, I haven't really. Last I saw him was maybe 5 years ago. We ran each other at the barbershop, and he was quiet. He's fairly quiet, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like in the club, doesn't really say much, doesn't drink, tips well, just kind of hangs out. Yeah. So I think the Money Mayweather's more of a persona when you kind of get him to open up. Generally, he's just kind of quiet and keeps to himself, very chill.
Yeah. I always wondered that with him. I would always watch him on, was it 24/7, the HBO one, right? And he's so on all the time.
I mean, it's likely different when he's in the gym, when he's training, when he's out. I mean, I would go watch sometimes. He had a little gym over here. I would go watch some sparring before the matches. And he gets pretty hype and talkative, but again, there's cameras and people around. But anytime I've been in a smaller setting, he's just very quiet and chill. Probably just had enough. He's just he's just chilling,
Yeah. Any bad celebrity encounters? Anybody that was rude and or you just didn't like very much?
Funnily enough, it wasn't in Vegas though. I would say it's P. Diddy,
Oh yeah.
P. Diddy, which is funny because it's coming out that he's kind of a piece of garbage anyways.
Yeah.
I had an incident with him in Miami in 2005 where he just was just not very friendly in like a club setting I was amongst other of his equals as a guest. Yeah. And he kind of just like didn't want to say hi. It was just kind of not like didn't want to say hi, but just kind of rude. Right. So, and I remember telling someone, and they were like, a girl I was dating at the time was on Making the Band. She was like, which was his show back then. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I'm not surprised. And Fast forward, it comes out he's been an abusive piece of shit for many years. So it's like, all right, well, I guess I got that one right.
Got that right, yeah. I met him in LA at a Ciroc event. He was actually quite nice, but I met him for 5-10 seconds, said hello, took a picture, and that was it. And he was pretty cool, but like, yeah, the stuff that's coming out now. I'd say today, you're still probably best known as a professional poker player, although you do a lot of stuff. Tell me why poker?
I think the reason for poker would be, it's actually kind of think fairly simple, right? I've always enjoyed games, competing in things that use your mind, because growing up, didn't have a father, I wasn't very athletic. I played basketball, but wasn't very good. Played a little league baseball, wasn't good. Wasn't very athletic, but I loved to compete. And using my mind in like games or strategy games, video games, anything where you have to think and kind of outsmart others and compete, I loved. That's why as a teenager I was really big Magic the Gathering player, traveled the world, was one of the best in the world, went to all like the pro circuit, made money at it. But the money you can make there, not very good, right? I think like the lifetime earner, the top earner in Magic is probably less than 7 figures, I think. Maybe it's gone up because it's been going on for so long, but that's over a whole lifetime since the game's been around, since the Pro Tour's been around since 1996. There's people that have been playing all the whole time. You do that for fun, not for money. That's all I'll say. Like, I love it. It's still probably the best game in the world. But the money is not enough to consider yourself to raise a family on, things like that. Poker provides that competitive outlet, and if you're good at it and you study at it and you're better than other players, you can have a damn good life. I have a great life, and there's players that have tenfold the life I have financially who really put a lot into it and get a lot out. I've ventured into other areas, but I think poker was the stepping stone, and I think the reason was just that. It was where the highest upside for being able to still play a game for a living.
I'm guessing you've got a million great poker stories. Give me one that stands out for you.
I started the weekend with a $5,000 UFC bet that I won. Yeah. Took that $5,000, played in a game at the Bellagio right here. We're looking at it. Turned that $5,000 into like $25,000. Took that $25,000 into like the high limit area where some guys were playing an insane game, pot limit Omaha, $500, $1,000 blind stakes, enormous game. Partnered with another guy, bought into that game, turned it into $200,000, split out, took my 100, got back in the game. 30 some odd hours later, I've got 960,000, I think 980.
Oh man.
It's 7 in the morning. The game is going crazy, right? I've turned 5K into 980, and I get a phone call, and that's basically my buddy Serb, as we call him. He's actually from Toronto, Nanad Medic. He knew I was there, and he couldn't get a hold of me, just call the Bellagio, and he talked to David. I run over, he's like, how's it going? He knew I was in this big game. And I was like, 980, motherfucker. He's like, what? 980 what? I'm like, 980,000. He's like, holy shit. He's like, let's go to the Spearmint Rhino, kid. Let's get up, let's go. It's a party. And I go, just let me get this to a quick mill. I was like, let me just crack them for 20 more thousand, get a nice mill, win $1 million, and then we're on. I'll call you back in a little. I'm gonna get that 20 more thousand, win $1 million, and we're going. I'm sure you can tell.
I'm gonna guess
where this went.
Yeah.
We did not hit $1 million. It started to fall apart. And I would say, actually, we weren't at the 33-hour mark yet because we ended up getting to the 33-hour mark. Down and down and down and down. Let me get back to 700. Let me get back to $500,000. Let me get back to 400. Shit, if I can just be up 300, I'll leave. Okay, now I got to go back to my box and get some more money. Now, hey, to my friend, throw me some chips. I don't have any up here at the casino. And sure enough, I lose $250,000.
Oh, man.
From plus 980 off of $5,000 to negative 250 in 33 hours.
Oh,
and
man.
It was one of the saddest moments. It was a learning lesson, and I wouldn't change it when I look back, right?
Yeah.
Because I was 25, 26, maybe 27. I'm 44 now. I'm doing very well. Things are good. I've learned a lot of lessons. I'm a lot more conservative when I need to be.
Yeah.
And I think moments like that, forged me. I was forged in the fire.
Yeah.
To make wiser decisions, be smarter with money. But I do look back on that and laugh now. But at the time, talk about not being able to sleep. I remember I walked out of there dizzy.
Yeah.
Right? It'd been in there 33 hours. I go home, collapse in my condo, have the blackout curtains down, didn't want to be alive, sleep for 20 some odd hours, wake up, friends had been calling because they knew, they heard.
Yeah, word travels.
And I'm just like, I blew it. All because I wanted to get to a stupid round number. I blew it. And my friend Serb was like, I even called you to get you out of there, man. We would have had all the strippers all over us. It would have been just a great morning.
It's almost worse that he called, because then he gets to hang that, right? Like, oh, you should have, like, oh, man.
But it's okay. I mean, you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
You know, I made it through it. It's not like I had to go get a job working at the local
no.
Walmart because I had no more money. You know, I was okay. I was able to recover. You know, things are tough for a little bit. Not even that tough, because at the end of the day, yeah, I lost $250,000, but it's just more so mentally to be, you know, plus the swing. It's actually, now that I think about it, it's almost the opposite of the Floyd Mayweather bet.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's, in a way, I won that money back.
Yeah.
10 years later.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But
life lessons, man.
That's the poker story that stands out.
Yeah. Fair enough. You've done an incredible amount in poker. What keeps you playing?
I think the thing that keeps me playing is the desire for accolades, because I really haven't had any major success in a very long time. And when I say that, yeah, I've made money. I play cash games now, private cash games. Like I say, financially, I'm in a better spot than I've ever been. Yep. I'm more relaxed. I'm calm. Life is great, but I want more titles, you know. Right. And I got one WSOP bracelet, which I won 18 years ago, 2006. I have one WPT title. That was a pretty big, prestigious in the world title in 2010, but now that's 14 years ago. And I haven't won a big tournament. Now, I don't put the volume in, so it's kind of like the guy complaining they don't win the lotto when they don't buy lotto tickets. Not that it's the lotto, but if you don't enter the tournaments, you can't win them. But each summer I do go pretty hard at the World Series of Poker, and I haven't won my second bracelet, and I got friends winning 3 in a year. This year, my friend Scott Seaver won 3 in one summer, right? I haven't won my second, and it's been 18 years, and I play so many events, I get so close. I've got second places, third places, and I can't close. So I think I keep playing just because I want to taste that victory, that feeling of you're the last person standing, and there are no regrets anymore, because everything you did got you to this moment. Whereas now, when you get knocked out, even if you get second, you always wonder, could I have done something different at some point? But when you win, there's no second guessing. So I think I play for that, because I definitely don't play for the money.
Yeah.
Because the money in tournaments isn't that great, and I like tournaments. I do play cash games for money, but again, I like to put myself in situations where I'm a favorite, and I don't play a lot of casino cash games. I play a lot of underground private games where I'm likely one of the better players in the game, which is great financially, but it doesn't get the competitive juices flowing, because it's really not the same.
It's coming, man. I have no doubt.
Thank you. I hope so. I mean, I'm going to keep going. You know, every summer I'm out there at the World Series plugging away. I travel a little bit here and there now that my daughter's getting older, so I can start traveling again and go to like more tournaments on the road. So I think, you know, you keep knocking on the door, and one day they'll open.
How did MasterChef come around? How did that fit into your life story?
And I get a text message from a producer from a poker show I had done many years earlier, almost 9 years earlier. I did this show for Spike TV called The King of Vegas, which somehow has been scrubbed from the internet. Like, it was the most goofy show ever, but you can't find it. Kind of like that Black Poker Superstars thing on BET. Can't find any. You can find like little clips, but you can't find either of those two shows. Anyways, the producer reaches out, and she's like, hey, David, it's Gina from King of Vegas. And I was like, hey, how's it been? How's it going? She's like, I see you've been cooking. I was like, oh, yeah. She's like, I saw on your social media. I was like, I'm just kind of screwing around. She's like, well, hey, I'm a producer on MasterChef. We're coming to Vegas for auditions. You should audition. And I was like, nah, what the hell's that, right? She goes, it's a show with Gordon Ramsay. It's crazy. You'd love it. I think you'd be a good fit, your story. And I was like, I'm not that good. And she's like, just come audition. If you make it, you know, no harm, no foul. And I was like, let me think about it. Right? Yeah. So I remember I reached back out to Gina and said, all right, I'll do it. What are the details? She's like, okay, you need to be at this hotel conference room like this following Saturday or upcoming Saturday. And it was like 8 a.m., bring a dish, your best dish, ready to go. And I'm like, really? 8 a.m., I got to bring a dish? Damn. And she's like, don't worry, you'll be fine, right? But my friend was having a bachelor party the night before. And I was hosting, because I'm the guy at the time, I'm the guy around town. I know everybody at all the clubs, the strip clubs, the restaurants. Like, I'm setting the guys up. I'm going to be out with them. But now I got to do this audition one day only, right? I'm like, how am I going to juggle this? I can't flake on the guys, but I got to do this. So I remember I was like, okay, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to get the guys set up at the last stop, it was gonna be like dinner club, strip club. Drop them at the strip club at 2 a.m., bolt home, try to get a little sleep, wake up at 7, cook my dish, rush down to the hotel, hope I'm good, right? So I was like, what am I gonna make? I ended up coming up with, I wanted something that would still be good in a thermos.
Right.
Like, you cook a steak, steaks are good, but if a steak is, you don't want a lukewarm steak. And I'm like, what can I make? And I was like, pizza is always good, but I can't make pizza. Pasta, I'll make some pasta, really good sauce. It'll stay warm in the thermos. I'm like, lukewarm, it's still gonna be pretty good. You can taste the flavors. I was like, but I need a protein. Shrimp, like shrimp is always, you can eat shrimp raw, cold, hot. So I made a shrimp puttanesca. A puttanesca is like a sauce with capers, olives, and anchovies, tomato sauce. I made a shrimp puttanesca, got the ingredients that week, had it practiced like so I could do it in the time to get it up there in the morning because I wanted to sleep in. Got it down where I could do it in about 20 minutes. Boom. Took the boys out that Friday, woke up the morning, whipped up the dish, put it in the thermos, got my best white plate, got a white napkin, silverware, ready to go, right? This is amazing. Roll up to this audition, and it's just like you see like on American Idol, a bunch of people sitting in a room waiting for their number to be called, and they come in and they come out, and they're calling in groups of like 20. And I get there and I'm looking around, and it's just such a diverse cross-section of people, but most people have like Tupperware containers or foil pans. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I remember she said, we're gonna fast track you in because I was like, she's like, you'll be one of the first groups to go in if you get there right on time. So they call me in with like 20 people. We're in a room, they say, okay, everybody with a table in front of us, pull out your dish and get ready. The judges are gonna come in and taste and make notes. They're not gonna speak to you, part one. So I remember I pull out my plate, white plate, get my napkin folded, shiny silverware, pull the pasta out, do the little twist so it's nice in the plate. And I look around and everybody's just got their foil with like nothing, no cutlery, no plate. They just brought their food, but like in a or a lunch box. And I'm like, wow. And I'm on a different level, I guess. And the judges come in with their clipboard, 3 judges, they're tasting people's food, and they're like, They get to me, and I've got like a white plate with a napkin, it's all laid out like fine dining, and they're like, they look at each other, and they're kind of like, yeah. They taste it, and I'm looking at their faces, they whisper, make some notes, thank you, and go to the next guy, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to read their face. They're like, okay, thanks, guys. We step out, we'll be in touch. About 2 hours later, I get a call. We'd like you to come back. You advance to the next round of the interview. And then the next round of the interview was like an in-person with like 4 other people, and they talked to us. I crushed. It was like me and 4 moms. They asked about food knowledge, restaurant knowledge, different tools in the kitchen, like what's this thing for? And because of me watching all these YouTube videos, I knew what everything was, And some of these moms like, I don't know, or they didn't know what ingredients go with what. So I crushed that. And then next thing you know, I just went through the interview process. And then finally they're like, okay, you're going to be on the show. Or no, you're going to come to LA for the last part of the auditions in January. And they were like, but bring a suitcase and be ready to be here for 6 weeks. Because if you make the show, you go right into it. And if you win the show, it's 6 weeks later. So bring enough stuff for 6 weeks. Half of you will be sent home right away. And then you could be eliminated and go home, but be ready. So I remember I was like, damn, am I going to leave my daughter for 6 weeks? So I was divorced at the time. I talked to my ex-wife. I was like, she's like, yeah, it's good. Go for it. Lily will be good. I went out there and I was so nervous, and I made it to the first part, and then boom, as you saw, I just kept making it through episode after episode, had some highs, some lows, and next thing you know, 6 weeks later, I'm in the finals. And I kind of got robbed in the finals in a way. I think I got screwed in the finale itself. But if you look at a body of work, the right guy won, right? The guy who won deserved it. He crushed throughout the show. I kind of floated and used a lot of gamesmanship, made sure I wasn't last, made sure other people were worse than me. I used strategy to get to the end. He just cooked his ass off and crushed. In the finale, I think I had better dishes. We all had some miscues. I think that weighed on the judges a little bit. It was Gordon Ramsay, Daniel Boulud, Wolfgang Puck, and Christina Tosi. I think they thought of the whole season and put that in their decision, which I'm okay with. I just wanted to prove I could do it, get there. I'm happy with what I did. It would have been awesome to be a winner. But again, the right guy won. And I say that and I mean it. He was really, really talented.
It's crazy that you did it after like a year before.
A year of cooking eggs, right? Like if I win, it's kind of a mockery of the show, I think. Whereas this guy had been.
I think that shows talent. I don't know if it's a mockery of the show.
Yeah, but I mean, and this guy was so fucking good that like if he didn't win because of one like coming up with worse dishes or whatever and one thing, it wouldn't have felt, I mean, I would have been happy about it, but I would have kind of thought I robbed this guy a little bit. So I'm okay with it. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, fair. Vegas has got a ton of great restaurants now. I say this to people all the time. Like, they're like, oh, you go to Vegas a lot? I'm like, yeah, like the food out here is like phenomenal. You keep a pretty good list of all the best restaurants out here, I noticed. Like,
You know, that list, I don't even know how it started. I know how it started. So I maintain a list. It's on my Twitter. It's pinned. It's a spreadsheet I update that's living. So like you click the link on the tweet, the link goes to a Google Doc. I update it every 3 months or so, add new places I've been going, remove some places. But I just got tired of so many people who visit. Hey, where should I go? Where should I go? Where should I go? What do you think about this place? What's the best Chinese place? What's the best Italian? What about for lower budgets? And I just got so tired of saying the same thing that one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to comprise a list of my spots. Because I get people all the time, you should put this on it. You should put that on it. I'm like, look, make your own list, buddy.
Yeah.
This is not the definitive list. This is my list. This is what I've been eating and what I like.
yeah.
And I started keeping it. It blew up to the point where, like, during the World Series of Poker specifically, poker players tell me all the time, thank you. I was at a table, actually, at the end of the World Series about 2 weeks ago. A guy from, where was he from? I think he was from Poland. He just goes, by the way, David, I want to let you know, me and the entire Polish poker community owe you a big thank you. He's like, we all use your list for years when we come. We love the restaurants on it. It's great. We all share it. It's where, you know, what has David added next? That's where we're going. And I was like, oh, cool. He's like, so thank you so much. And I get stuff like that all the time. And then he's like, but you have to add, and he told me a restaurant that's not very good. And I was like, you know, that restaurant's, I'm like, that's, you know, it's not my favorite. I haven't been there in years. Maybe they've stepped it up a little bit. He's like, no, it's the best. And I was like, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to trash the place, but I was like, you know, I'll check it out again and maybe it might make it, but I'm going to be honest, probably not. And he like was kind of bummed by that, but I didn't want to be rude and like, it's my list, buddy. I was just like, yeah, I'll check it out. But I love it. I love the restaurants here. We have I really think, you know, I've been all over the world. Vegas is one of the best cities in the world for eating. And people who try to say, oh, you don't have your own culture, your own identity, maybe that's true. Maybe there's no Vegas food, but we have everything. And we have great versions of everything. We have all the big chefs in the casinos. We have great restaurants off strip. I mean, we have so many different cuisines that we really have talented people doing in this city that it's one of the reasons why I really haven't left. I look at these other cities I've been considering, like the food scene, it's hard to match. I mean, other than like maybe New York and LA, it's really hard to match the food scene here. And people don't really respect it or know it, but if they really, like if I took someone on a tour for a week, I could blow some people's minds.
Outside of poker, what keeps you busy in your business life?
Business life, actually, it's got some investments, various like companies friends have started. I kind of like help support that have worked out very well. I dabble in crypto, mostly from a standpoint now. I did some trading for a while. I did some investing in random coins. But throughout all that, and I've made money. I even traded some NFTs for a while whenever that was hot. But the soundest strategy that I recommend to everyone that I've kind of fallen back on is just buy Bitcoin and hold it. You know, I have some Bitcoin. Don't touch it. Let it sit there. You'll have some ups and downs, but if you look at the returns over time, it's pretty much only going up. You know, obviously there's moments where people are like, oh, look at that drawdown, ha ha ha. It's like, yeah, but I'm not day trading it. It's a long-term play. I just, you know, put some money in there that you can afford to let sit, and let it grow. So.
We were laughing about this earlier because I run a mining company, as you're aware. Guys who are sponsoring this. And we were saying, younger people, when I say, oh, I'm in mining, they immediately say, what coin, right? So it's interesting. I mean, from a gold perspective, gold was always kind of this hedge against the US dollar or things are going to go bad, own gold. So many more people now want to own Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Give me your thesis on why Bitcoin and what is it when you look at it, you say, like, I'm going to own that.
It plays into another answer to your question about business ventures. I'm actually partnered with a sports betting syndicate where we've got handicappers. We have very sharp information. And it's funny because a lot of people who know this about me are like, oh, what do I bet on next week? Or what's the play? And it's like, it doesn't really work that way. We bet when the markets open and the markets move so fast. By the time I could tell a friend, oh, we bet, you know, under 227 points in this basketball game. You're going to look, and the line's at 225, right? It's moved 2 points. And my friends are, oh, can I still bet it? And I'm like, no, you can't. And they do it anyway. And then at the end of the year, or end of the month, they followed us, they're down, we're up. Like, I'm like, those 2 points matter, man. We're operating on very small edges. So if you aren't copying us exactly, your results may vary a lot. So that's what I'm partnered in, and where for the past 12 years, my biggest business venture and why things are good. And the reason that comes full circle to the Bitcoin aspect is a long time ago when Bitcoin was about 3 to 500 a coin, 400 a coin, maybe even actually some transactions 100 a coin. Some people would settle with us in Bitcoin.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't even know what it was or want it, And I'm like, I guess, sure, And we had this Bitcoin, and it just kept going up quickly back then. It was like, and then it had some downs and ups, and I was like, this is kind of cool. So I started researching how it worked, what it was, and I like the concept. Now, I don't know if the world can get behind it. I'm not like this gung-ho Bitcoin for life kind of guy, where it's the future. I don't know that, because ideally I think it would be great if on paper, the concept sounds awesome, and I hope it works. But again, you've got a lot of people, the governments mainly, that have a lot of interest in having control over our dollars and what we do with them. Bitcoin goes against that.
Yep.
And they don't like to relinquish that power, and they make the rules. So I think it's got a long way to go to where it becomes this kind of adopted substitute, but it's doing a good job of it now. And I'm happy to have a diversified portfolio, something other than just dollars, stocks, casino chips. Have something else, and it's worked out well for me, and I support it in theory. I would love to see, it continue the path it's going, not just from me making more by holding it, but by seeing what's possible, breaking away from the government, and their grasp on the financial industry and the financial systems. I just don't know if that'll happen in our lifetime, because they have no incentive to give that up.
Right, of course. So. Yeah. They want to control it, without doubt, right? I mean, they're talking now about a potential Federal Reserve digital currency and all these types of things. It'll be
Which goes against the whole ethos of what Bitcoin is.
Well, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense, but back to your point, they want to have control, right? So it's like, yeah.
So again, I don't have a lot of hope that it gets to the place where some of these, we call them maxis, these Bitcoin maxis, think it'll get. It would be great if it did, and I'm not like being a doomer. I just don't have hope that it's hard to upseat those in power.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to see. But I do think it's a wise kind of hedge, If I always tell my friends, if you can afford it, park some money there. Don't sweat the day-to-day price chart. Don't panic if one day you find out it's 50% down. This is a long-term play. Put it there. Make sure you're comfortable with it, and ride the wave.
It's funny. We say the exact same thing about gold.
Yeah, and I have some gold too, You got to be diversified.
Yeah, I agreed. One of the things that when I think about when I look at you is your personal brand. You've just done this incredible job of building this personal brand around yourself. Did you have a mentor help you with that, or was that all self-taught?
Definitely no mentor, and I don't even think any of it was planned. And in a way, I'm kind of dialing it all back as I've gotten older and become a family man. But no, I think, the funniest kind of anecdote about that, right? When I got second place at the World Series, it was 2004. And it was literally, if you look at the poker chart, like the moneymaker year was here, and then like 04 and 5, and then that was like the years it was blowing up, right? I mean, everywhere I went, people were like, you're that guy, people recognized me. It was crazy. When I got second on ESPN, I was wearing black Prada sunglasses, right? And I had these sunglasses on. And if you notice, tournaments after that, I no longer wear sunglasses. And one of the reasons I didn't is because I noticed I would get recognized more after that 2004 World Series when I had my sunglasses on. If I'm like sitting at the airport wearing sunglasses inside like an asshole, or if I'm outside, people are like, oh, you're that poker guy, right? When I had the sunglasses off, people are like, you look familiar. And I realized it's because they are familiar with me wearing the sunglasses, right? For my one, at the time, big thing on TV, I had friggin' sunglasses on. And I was like, I'm not gonna wear sunglasses on televised, on anything anymore. I don't want my face to be associated where I have to wear these glasses and to equate it. And I realized I was 24 years old. So I stopped wearing the sunglasses. And then when we would do like magazine shoots and other poker promotions, no sunglasses. And I wanted to make sure that my look and my image, because there was nobody in poker at the time, that kind of looked like me, young, cool, semi-good looking, or whatever you want to say. But like at the time, it was either like old men, sloppy guys. It didn't really work. So I knew I wanted to capitalize on that because I had that going for me. So I kind of played into that at the time.
Yeah, you were the guy, I remember. I remember watching you on TV, like when poker blew up.
I mean, there was, like I say, obviously there were bigger names, more successful names, but I had kind of something going for me that none of those guys really had. More like I would say cool.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those guys weren't very cool. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're good people, and I like a lot of them, and they were hell of maybe better players than me, but they didn't have that they weren't young and cool. Yeah. So.
But you built that brand. I mean, it's not just poker anymore. You're doing all these other things, and but to me, that still plays in, right? Like people gravitate to you because of that kind of cool factor.
It's definitely cool that I get to kind of rest my laurels on that. I don't, like I say, I've kind of dialed it back. Like if you notice, I don't use Instagram, which is a whole nother reason. So like my last post, I think, was like a tribute to Mike Sexton when he passed away a couple of years ago. And people are always like, oh, what's your Insta? I'm like, it's DW Poker, but I don't really use it. And it's like, I don't like Instagram for what it does to me mentally, you know, like scrolling and looking at people's best cross-section of their life. It gave me a lot of weird feelings. I'm like, I'm not achieving enough. I'm not accomplishing enough. I'm not living up to my full potential. And I realized once I cut that out of my life, I was way happier. Yeah. And I couldn't find a way to just post and not look at other people's stuff. And then I would also have people like, oh, well, you post, but you don't like my post. I'm like, well, I don't look at it. And then it seems kind of one-sided. I just post my stuff. I don't care about your stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to cut this out altogether. So like Instagram is huge and TikTok if you want to have a brand. So if I really wanted to still keep up with it, I would have kind of moved into content creation, maybe making shorts at poker tournaments.
Yeah.
I'm not really, like I say, as I've gotten older and I'm becoming more, I'm a dad now. I've got a great girlfriend who, we do family stuff, the three of us. My focus is less on kind of being out in the public scene and being, all these opportunities. I'm okay to pass up on some of those. Obviously, when you asked me to do this as a friend, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But actually, really, a lot of the times when like publications like poker, like, hey, do you want to do an interview? I'm like, I'll pass. I'm okay. Like, I'm not really into it anymore. I'm kind of just, I'm okay just chilling.
Evolution of life, man. That's it, right? Well, I appreciate you doing this with me.
For sure.
Okay, let's have a fun one. Rapid fire. I'm going to shoot you a question. You're going to give me like 1-2 line answers.
All right.
Favorite vacation spot in the world?
Maui. Love Maui, man. I mean, it's just so chill there. And the funny part is I love Maui, and I'm just starting golf now, and I heard there's good golf there. So once I go back, I can maybe,
Yeah, it's hot there too. That's the other problem. We were talking about that. Biggest flaw?
Biggest flaw? I got a lot of them. I think if you ask my girlfriend would say it, my need to always be right and prove people wrong, And I'm trying to work on that, but it's hard. But you got to bite your tongue a lot and just.
That's a guilty pleasure.
Food, man. Yeah, I really want to get in shape and lose weight, but it's just so damn hard. I love so many different foods, and I can't cut out the bad stuff. I'm not even a big sweets guy or a big bread guy. I just like all things.
Yeah, that's a good thing though. Best compliment you ever received?
This is a funny one. It's not funny, but it's funny just because I've said it before. My girlfriend Zora gets like kind of perturbed by it, but some friends, a lesbian couple, were considering having a child, and great couple, they mentioned one day, you know what, if we were going to have a child and you could donate to the clinic or whatever, we would love, if we get to that point, to use yours, and not because of looks, but because of your intelligence, your personality.
That's a great
compliment. And I was like honored.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was told that at the time, my ex-wife was like annoyed by it and like upset. I get it, because in a way you're someone else is having your child. Yeah. My science brain was like, well, it's not like I like bang somebody. It's just like, but I get it now that I have a daughter. Like in a way, that kid is she was not happy, but still, it's quite a compliment, and I felt very honored.
It's a really nice compliment, I think. Yeah.
And it's not like they were hitting on me. I mean, clearly I'm not their type.
Yeah.
But it just says a lot about their opinion of me, and it made me feel good. I'm like, that stuck with me forever.
That's a good one. Yeah. Are you predominantly happy with the way you spend your time today?
Today? Oh, at this point in my life.
At this point in your life, not today. You're like,
I wasted a lot of time today.
You talked me into this, now you gotta.
Earlier, I kind of didn't do anything today, and I should have. But no, I'm predominantly happy. I mean, like I say, I'm blessed where things are so good business-wise that I have a lot of free time. I don't have to spend much time on that. I took up a new hobby. I've told you I get to learn golf, which is great. I get to hang out with my daughter and girlfriend and go on vacations, which is awesome. I'm pretty happy. I mean, I feel like maybe I should be out there striving to kind of take it to the next level, maybe working a little harder. Probably, because am I really out there achieving more, or am I stagnant? Am I complacent and happy with where things are? Probably so. And maybe I could like pursue a passion. I've thought about opening a restaurant, but I don't know shit about opening restaurants. I'd have to kind of partner with someone that's an expert, because I've got some concepts. I definitely don't want to be in the kitchen every day, slaving over making meals. But I do have some ideas and would like to be maybe a restaurateur if I had the right partner to work with.
You didn't know anything about cooking a year before you were that's
maybe I get off my ass and find somebody to partner with who knows about that business.
Yeah.
See if we can put some of my concepts and turn them into something. Probably should.
I'd eat there. I'll come. What's next for you?
It's kind of funny. I mean, what's next? Maybe that's what's next. You know what I mean? Like, I've got, like I said, some restaurant ideas I really like. It's just, I'm like, am I too old? Like, is this going to come to fruition when I'm 60? But 60 is the new 50. Everybody's getting younger. So maybe I don't need to worry too much about that. But that's probably, right now I'm just, like I say, playing a little bit of poker, going to travel to some tournaments, trying to be a good dad. Me and my girlfriend are going to, we're going to Italy September for like 2 weeks, going to go to some restaurants. Yeah. And then we're going to Japan for some more restaurants in December. So a little bit of traveling and eating and a little bit of poker.
Let's end on this. Tell me what you want to be remembered for.
It's funny. I think about that actually a lot. And when I think about that, it's because when I think about wanting to achieve more in poker, right, I look at what I've achieved, which in some ways it's better than 99.999% of the poker players out there. And there's so many people coming up who would love to achieve what I achieved. And I'm not saying it as a brag, I'm saying it as I need to put that into perspective when I compare myself to my peers who are doing so much better, right? Again, like, I'm stuck on one bracelet since 2006. I've got friends who came after me who have their 7th, 8th, and I'm watching all summer, and it hurts. And not because I'm jealous, more envy. Like, God damn, where's my victories? And I used to say I wanted to be remembered as one of the best, and when I was younger, I want to have all the bracelets and be in the Hall of Fame. And now I realize at this age, that likely won't come unless something crazy changes, just because of the way poker is right now, right? I'd have to something would have to change, and I'd have to just go on the best heater you've ever seen. And I frankly don't know if I have the drive and the time to study, to dedicate, to put into that. And I'm okay with that. But then I've thought about, what do I want to be remembered for? And I would struggle. I would go to therapy sometime, and I would even talk to her, like, what have I done to make my mark on the world? What have I done to change the world? And she's like, well, if you think like that, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because most people don't. And it's like, have I done anything where when I die, people are going to think of, I'm like, and she's like, you got to relax and just live the best you can live. And I think being a good dad is the thing I've come back to, and trying to raise my daughter, to be a strong, smart young lady, to have her feel loved and think, my dad was really good to me and treated me well and taught me a lot. That's kind of what I want to be at. And, me and Zora, my girlfriend, we've talked about having kids, and I want to have more. She wants to, so maybe we'll have kids here soon. Being a great dad to them, being, a better dad, build on what I've learned from being a dad to Lily, and try to be even better to the next kids, because she's 13 now. I don't know, I haven't been a perfect father. I don't have anything wrong, I think, but we all could do things better. So hopefully learn and be better with the next kid, and if I have more, continually improve and just be the best father I can be.
It's funny, I was going to end on that because you're incredibly well accomplished. You've done a ton of interesting things. I think you're a great dude too, and a good friend. But I always think of you as a good father. I remember at the end of MasterChef, I wrote you that and said, people should watch you and, see who you are and really understand what a good man you are and what a good father you are to Lily. So we'll end on that, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.